Gamer Feed Radio.
Greetings once again, everybody out there in podcast land. This is Gamer Feed Radio. In case the intro confused you, my name is Nick Delicave, and we had a little bit of a brief hiatus last week due to some work travel, work scheduling conflicts, but we're back, and this week,
yes, we are.
The surprise is, believe it or not, we joked several weeks back that Brad was hiding in a nuclear fallout bunker, but I'm pretty sure Kyle took his place, but he's back.
I am back.
From the depths of the Congo, I'm told.
Yes, indeed, yes.
I hope the tan is great. Oh, wait, you were in a cave. Anyway, Kyle Pope, everyone, is back with us again.
Hello.
And we're happy to have you back. Brad is taking the night off after several weeks in the hot seat. So we'll harass him thoroughly. He'll listen back at this and hate us next week. And you know what? It's all good.
It is all good. We hate you because we love you, Brad.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, this week's show, we kind of tossed around a bunch of different ideas. We're going to definitely do next week a Noobs Feed extra because there's been so much gaming news that's gone on in the last couple of weeks. It would be a shame to not get our reaction to several of the tidbits. But we're going to forgo that this week and talk specifically about comic book games.
Yes, indeed.
Now, way back at the beginning of the infant nature of Gamer Feed Radio, we did something where we talked a little bit about comic books as it relates, but I don't know that we really kind of tackled the genre in quite this way. So, that being said, let's just jump right in.
Absolutely.
So the first thing I think that kind of goes without really saying when you talk about comic book games is arguably the group consensus worst comic book video game of all time, which was Superman 64 on the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
I wrote in the agenda, should we go on?
I mean, it's a game about jumping through hoops, which I think is appropriate because I'm sure that's what the developers did in order to get this game on the shelves. Jump through many burning, flaming hoops.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me really weirdly of the Sega Genesis game Echo the Dolphin. Honestly, I mean, it really is that kind of a game where you're just going around in a endless abyss.
Yeah, but
jumping through rings.
Echo the Dolphin at least had like the weird alien twist thing that happened at the end.
Well, okay, but I mean, though, from a gaming mechanic standpoint, I feel like Superman 64 was a generation or two late to the party. But yeah, I mean, the graphics weren't very good, and
it didn't really even make sense. Like, why was a game made about Superman jumping through hoops?
It's just, it boggles the mind. It kind of really is, and I'm shocked that Nintendo even allowed the game to be made because I can't even believe I'm about to say this, but it basically was the E.T. of that generation.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, the good news is like by the time the game came out, the N64 was already late in its lifespan anyway. It was late 90s, early 2000s, and all of us kind of had next gen on our minds. Well, I guess not really. I mean.
Yeah, I mean...
When did the GameCube come out? 2002, 2001?
I don't know. It should have never come out, but whenever it did...
don't hate on the GameCube.
No, I'm just kidding. Everybody loves the little purple lunchbox. Come on.
Oh, it is the lunchbox of gaming.
I mean, really the best part about, not to tangent too much, the best thing about the GameCube really was, it had those super cool, really small discs back when, like, mini discs were kind of big.
Yeah.
And then when the Wii first came out, if you got like one of the original versions, it was actually backwards compatible so that it could play.
I am very, very happy to own one of those things.
As am I. It's sitting over here on my table, and it's very sad because I haven't played it in a long, long time. Anyway.
Yeah, mine's been gathering dust for a while.
Yeah, arguably Superman 64 worst comic book game of all time. Why on God's green earth would we start the show with something so bad?
Because there's so much good.
It only gets better from here, right?
It really does. It has to. There's no place else to go.
It pretty much was the rock bottom. It was. So, other than that, we'll give Superman a little bit of a pass because really, frankly, after that, there weren't and still haven't been many quality games that involve Superman. But I guess if you really think about it, it's kind of
the DC game, the DC Fire, made by the guys who made Mortal Kombat, that was pretty good.
Yeah, okay. I mean, just a game specifically dedicated to Superman, like Batman or like, even X-Men characters.
I just think the overall appeal of Superman is just kind of dwindling. Man of Steel was kind of successful, and there's some hype for the new Batman Superman film, and it's just you can't make like a significant effort with Superman without turning him into like another doom and gloomy like Batman with superpowers,
Yeah, but I think the main problem with the movies is that you're playing. I mean, let's be honest. Anybody who knows Superman knows Christopher Reeves, so it's like you're kind of comparing, which is difficult because it's a completely different time and place and everything, but. You look at that and you go, oh, that's kind of sad that guy's trying to play that, the now deceased former Superman. Kind of weird.
The guy who ever did it right.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Okay, enough on Superman. Let's jump completely, including universes.
Yes, indeed.
And jump over into Marvel and talk a little bit about X-Men, which has had a significantly better track record of really good games. At least it had a hot streak in the 90s.
Well, a great beat 'em ups, great side scrollers, great games. The 90s was a good time for, I think, X-Men and Marvel in general. I think while DC might have been more dominant in the comic universe in the 90s, I think Marvel transitioned over to the medium of video games a lot more smoothly than DC did. Yeah. The X-Men arcade game is iconic. One of the best arcade games ever made, and it's just fun, easy beat-em-up game to play. You can get 4 of your friends, go to the arcade.
Loved it.
You even get like 2 people on that machine. You're just going crazy at it.
I loved it. I liked that it was really one of the first arcade games that I recall where everybody had a unique superpower, that you could build up. My personal favorite was always Colossus because he was like, and then he had that nuclear shield or whatever that like radiated out.
Yep.
It was just slick. Cyclops had the laser beam of doom, and I don't know. It just had
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Storm was always my favorite though, because I think I've covered this before. I've always been kind of the range combat guy. And so, I just cower in a corner and shoot things. And Storm was really cool for that because she had like awesome lightning attacks and then like an explosion type attack where basically just a giant orb of lightning death comes your way and annihilates everything. Like, it was sweet.
Yeah, the game was fantastic, and I am a huge fan still of the game. I have really great memories of playing it, many hours in the arcades.
I'm trying to remember if that game was ported.
I think you can get it on I don't want to say virtual console, but whatever Xbox Live's version of that is. I'm pretty sure you can get it over there as like an arcade classics.
Right.
It's like part of that Gold Live Arcade, or it was, at least I think it was on Xbox 360 for sure. I don't know if it still is available or not.
But, yeah, it was on Xbox Live 2010.
Cool.
And PlayStation Network.
Hey, well, now I really feel dumb. That just goes to show how much I pay attention. But anyway, while we're going, great game, I haven't played it probably in 15 years.
I played it a week ago.
Nice.
I went down to 16-bit for the first time.
I want to go so bad.
What?
I want to go there so bad.
Oh, so we should go, man. Me and Brad went.
And you didn't call me? My feelings are crushed.
It was kind of like an impromptu thing. It was also like I think it was a Thursday. And no, it was a Friday.
I'm okay with drinking pretty much any night of the week. So
I mean, you know, I am too. So, but yeah, that place is awesome. Like, just kind of a side note, like, go there. I want to go there during the week and not on a Friday or Saturday where it's like brim, like wall to wall crowded.
yeah,
And go on a night where I could go on like a Wednesday at like 6 or 7 o'clock. Like, it's only like half full and you can just play whatever you want. Because that was the only bad thing about it, was like you had to wait to play anything.
Of course. Well, I mean, it's a general public service announcement. For those of you that live not in this area of the state of Ohio, or frankly in the U.S., you're probably going, Kyle, what the hell are you talking about? It's okay. I'm glad you asked. There's a little chain, very small, here called 16-Bit Bar and Arcade, and basically it's arcade games to the newest console games, and pretty much the rules are, as far as I understand it, as long as you have a beer in your hand, you can play unlimited all you want.
Yes, indeed.
And so if there ever was an excuse as a gamer to go and have your favorite frothy adult beverage whilst playing, publicly shaming yourself, probably if you're old like me, then giddy up.
I killed it in Galaga. That was awesome. And I also killed it in Halo matchmaking.
Brilliant.
Not matchmaking, but like Halo 2 split screen.
Yeah.
Oh.
The split screen, which is no longer available.
Oh, it's so dumb. It's so good. Oh, man. Yeah, definitely highly recommended.
We're gonna have to go down there as a group. It's just gonna have to happen.
Absolutely. We will do that soon, sir.
I'm okay with that. Okay, and I also wanted to add, because we haven't actually talked about show related stuff in just a while. Time out for just a second on the topics. That interestingly, in the last month, we have had, I'm going to go ahead and call it a seismic shift in where exactly our listeners are primarily located. So you may recall, Kyle, that way back in the day we had this fun thing with Sweden, and they were like 9 or 10% of our weekly listening audience for a pretty extended period of time.
Yep.
Even several times beating the local audience here, which is crazy. And in the last month, I can't make this up, we have almost 20% of our listeners coming from the great nation of Japan.
Yes!
Yes! Is that crazy? So to all of you out there on the island of Japan who are listening to our show on a semi-regular basis.
Oh, it's awesome.
Kudos to you, kids. Kudos to you. And thanks to everybody who keeps listening. And, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't plug, you can check us out on iHeartRadio, which, by the way, has an app now on the PlayStation Network. You can get it on Xbox. You can listen to it at pretty much any time you want. We're also on iTunes for people who prefer smartphones over consoles. And a variety of other miscellaneous podcast playing things like TuneIn and Spreaker and a bunch of others. So very, very cool. I was checking out and just looking at that the other day before the show, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So awesome. Super stoked.
Japan. Always wanted to go.
So cool.
We should go to Japan and do a Gamer Feed radio recording in Japan.
Yeah, except that you have to get a lot of shots before you go, and I'm not sure I'm okay with that. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Me and Needles, we don't get along. All right, so we'll jump ship briefly. We were talking a little bit about X-Men. We'll jump off that for just a second.
Well, there's one more thing about X-Men.
Yeah, go ahead.
Really, if it weren't for this game, we wouldn't have one of the greatest fighting games of all time. Before there was Marvel vs. Capcom, it was X-Men vs. Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And that game I also played at 16-bit, and it's a lot better than I remember.
Well, that's always encouraging, because usually we remember it super fondly and then ends up sucking.
Yeah. It happens with a lot of old games, but this game it played just as smoothly as Marvel vs. Capcom, if not even better. Like, I remember one thing about Marvel vs. Capcom is, like, the combos are all... You have to be smart to be good at Marvel vs. Capcom. That's just a fact. And I'm not that smart. So...
I'm not either, so...
it's the controls are fluid. It's fun. Like they nailed it, and it led to basically a very celebrated franchise before it was even a thing. And it's X-Men and Street Fighter. Like that's awesome. What more could you ask for?
Totally agreed. Totally agreed.
So X-Men, good games. Good games.
So far, the track record, at least for, especially in the period of the 90s, was quite excellent. So hats
I can't
off.
say I've played an X-Men game since the 90s.
Agreed. I'm like thinking like, the movies came out. Did they do anything for that? I mean, I know they did, but I didn't play any of them.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah. I don't think anybody did. Okay, so we're going to jump ship quickly back into the DC universe because, we're all about equal offending airtime here.
Absolutely.
And let's talk a little bit about
Batman.
Yon Caped Crusader, Batman. So Batman, in my recollection, is probably the longest running successful series of games in each successive generation that I think I can remember. I remember the original.
You would not be wrong.
I mean, the original Nintendo Batman,
yes,
which had the most atrocious graphics ever.
But
the loading screen was cool. But the game was great, right? The mechanics, it was hard. It was like, I remember spending hours and hours and hours in the music. I always thought was really cool compared to other 8-bit NES games at the time. So,
and it was
that's cool.
Very, very early. Like this Batman game came out relatively not long after the NES came out.
Yeah, I mean,
it came out in 1986.
It was based off the original movie with Michael Keaton, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm pretty sure it was because I seem to recall one of the quote cinematics, which back then I'm sure was a big deal, was his face. So
yeah. And then, a bunch of great games. There was the Batman Returns game, which was for the SNES. That was really good.
Yep.
The animated series game was great.
Yep.
I mean, the list goes on, dude.
Yeah, and then you fast forward to the Arkham series, which is making millions and millions and millions and millions and millions. So, obviously, Bruce Wayne is doing a great job living up to his fame and fortune.
Yes, well, he's not getting any poorer. That's for damn sure.
So, I mean, I think it's interesting there that it kind of brings up what I think is going to be the main topic for today, which is it really kind of sets up an interesting dichotomy between Marvel games and DC games. And you look at big storied franchises like Superman and X-Men and Batman, and when you compare the three of them, which you really can't because they're all kind of different. But just from the fact that, some comic book creator put their IP in a video game and sold it or tried to sell it.
Yeah.
I think of those groups so far, Batman, particularly with the Arkham series, has probably been the most successful and is a feather in DC's cap. I wonder why it is that Marvel with great franchises like X-Men and Wolverine just stand alone, and they haven't been able to capture a similar kind of game style. Is it just because Batman's really dark and it's like urban and I can do hookshot things? I mean, what is it, other than there's a lot of Batman fans, obviously? What is it there specifically, do you think, that is the reason why, something like Batman is more successful than the others?
Well, the thing is, I would never put up Marvel versus DC in this topic. It really is Marvel versus Batman. It really is a shame. But look, when you think of DC related games, you think of Batman, or you think of these team up games like the Mortal Kombat versus DC universe, which was basically an M-rated Marvel versus Capcom. And then you got the Injustice game that I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, as far as DC specific characters, Batman pretty much runs the show. And I think the only reason why is, especially for the Arkham games, it was timing. The timing with Arkham Asylum was perfect because it was right after The Dark Knight.
Yep.
And, arguably one arguably the best superhero movie of all time. It got so much hype. I mean, and then this game came out, and it featured the original voice actors from the animated series, which people still love.
Yep.
And it was all about the Joker and the real, like, 100% actual Batman experience. And the hype was met with outrageous success. I mean, Batman Arkham Asylum blew my mind when it came out. And as much as I enjoyed playing all the older games, and both Batman and like X-Men, and there's the PlayStation 2 Spider-Man games that were pretty good. Marvel vs. Capcom, all these games, like, then this game came out, I was just like, all right, like, balls in your court, Marvel. Like, try to top this. You're going to fail.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say that, because now I think Marvel's in an interesting situation because they're a part of the behemoth that is Disney. And particularly with the Infinity series, which is geared towards younger kids, especially the youth of the male variety, I think they're making a strong play for, let's merchandise this. Everybody loves the Avengers. Disney Infinity is like, it can practically be whatever you want, mashup of all your favorite characters, and it's incredibly popular and makes millions and millions of dollars for Disney. So I think with the inclusion of Marvel now in that major inside of Mickey's house, I think it's going to do great things in the next couple of years. I think we're just seeing the beginnings of it now with Disney Infinity, but I think we're going to see some amazing things come from it now that Disney owns it.
I mean, I'd like to agree with you, and I do agree with you to some extent, but at the same time, it's also that merchandising that's making Disney, like, that's making all this money. And the real question is Disney going to steer clear of that and let Marvel do its own thing with the video games, or even like any other medium they want to go with? As far as video games are concerned, I don't really see there being a AAA standalone Marvel release, which is a shame. I mean, a bunch of like side stuff and like mobile games. There's already a bunch of mobile games.
Yeah, we'll talk about mobile games a little bit later.
And online games and stuff like that. But like, as far as like a AAA console or PC release, I don't think Disney has much interest in that, especially with the way Infinity's going. And they already have mega blockbuster films that come out yearly based off the Avengers universe, that I don't think they're really looking at, a AAA console release as a means of progressing the Marvel brand into the minds of the fans. Because adults love Marvel, children love Marvel, and I feel like the movie brand is mature enough to attract the adult audience, where they don't really need like a video game to go like up against the Arkham Asylum formula.
Right.
I don't know. It's
well, no. I mean, I think you're bringing up a really great point, because right now it is very in the movie space. Marvel is definitely dominating, and I think that is one of Disney's strong suits. It primarily has to do with distribution and capital fund. This is really grown up businessy crap, but basically they have access to the money and they can make it happen. So they get the right actors, keep having those people come back, and really breed those franchises for long term. I mean, I think they've got Marvel related material through like 2027. It's insanity.
Oh, it's absolutely insane.
I don't even want to think about what I'm going to be doing at that point, if I'm even still living. But the point is, I mean, that's what Disney's really good at, to your point. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Insane. Yeah. Now, you got Batman versus Superman. Frankly, I don't think most people care.
I beg to differ.
I don't care. I really, it's the same.
I know you don't care.
Well, but I mean, like, I didn't mind the Man of Steel movie with Superman. I thought the actor did okay. But I mean, Ben Affleck's just kind of meh.
A lot of people don't like him.
I mean, he's very polarizing. And if you even look past that, the whole premise of the movie makes zero sense to me. So I think what they're basically doing is trying to build up Justice League to compete with Avengers.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of all of this, really. DC has films lined up to 2019, I think now, which nowhere near Marvel's numbers, but still, it's like they're going the route, let's say about 10 years too late. But then again, like, I don't think that even occurred to DC to do it like Marvel did.
Oh, I don't think so either.
Because, they've been doing the cartoon thing and the comic book thing and then the Batman movies and the video games. They've been doing that stuff for so long that, when Marvel finally picked up on it, it's just like, oh, this is how we get a Justice League movie. We make a bunch of movies about our characters and have them all be syndicated together, and that's how they all come together. And then, I think if history reversed itself and DC did that, I don't think we'd live in the same world. It's all
alternate dimensions where Thanos controls us with the. Oh wait.
Yeah, exactly. But so. DC is, and this is kind of why I hate DC. They're so straight laced.
Yeah,
they won't give up their precious formula. They like keeping things in the family, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
And they keep their timelines very. I don't know how to put this.
Well, I think the moral of the story is that I think Marvel, because they were willing to take the business risk of joining Disney, which I think was a smart move for all the reasons I mentioned before, is the reason why. Disney is the company that has the kind of imagination to be able to really bridge the gap. And it'll be interesting, other than Infinity, as I mentioned before, to see if Disney can translate that into video games. Because, while the movie build-up and all that stuff's fascinating.
Right. And of course they can. I just don't think they will.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to have the same kind of success because it feels like an also-ran copycat type thing. And, I don't know if that's really what people are ultimately, at the end of the day, looking for. But I think the good news is that there's an attempt there to try to, even the playing field, so to speak.
Right.
So, in that regard, I agree with you that other than movies, I think DC has Marvel beat at the moment in the video game department.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But, again, it's not because of Wonder Woman. It's because of Batman.
Yeah.
Batman might as well be its own thing.
It's Batman is frankly one of the, not just because he is, but he's one of the great characters in literary history. If you think about it, tragedy and dark secrets, and bats are kind of mysteriously cool and evil looking, and so why not? And then he's got all the gadgets, and his cool thing is, well, although I did just see, he's just a normal average Joe, right? Who is smart and has technology.
Normal ass, billionaire.
Well, but he's a person.
There's 20 different styles of martial arts.
Yes, but unlike other comic book characters, he isn't imbued with some kind of superpower, right?
No, he's just really rich, really smart, and knows probably about 20 different ways to rip your head off.
Yeah, although, spoiler alert, I did see on Facebook the other day in one of my many news feeds that apparently in the Justice League universe, Bruce Wayne is no longer Batman, and some superpowered thing is now Batman. So I'm really curious to see how that will turn out.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, so it was just funny because when you said, "Oh, DC likes to stick to their formula," well,
they've been doing new things in the comics, like the New 52, and
yeah. Well, Bruce Wayne's also been 40 years old for about 65 years, so
yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It's about time for Little Grump. So if listeners out there, it's interesting because if you're into comic books or comic book characters, you usually fall on one side or the other. You're either like a big DC fan or you're a big Marvel fan. So which are you? So be sure to sign off on the Facebook or on Twitter at GamerFeed Radio and let us know which side of the aisle you're on. And if anybody puts anything about politics, you're fired.
Although, I mean, for you, is it DC for you or?
I don't know. I kind of like a little bit of both. I mean, I've always been a real big Marvel fan from a comic book standpoint. Like X-Men is one of my all-time favorite franchises. But, there's a simplicity to Superman that I really like.
Yeah.
Batman's cool, but, I have some friends that are like Batman crazy. And I'm like, meh.
This guy.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, good for you. That's great. I'd rather just destroy all of you mentally like Professor X and just watch you melt through the power of my brain.
It's really interesting. I know we've been talking about how like Batman is his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of also feel the same way about X-Men.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, not only because of like the whole ownage, Disney doesn't really own X-Men, but also just there's some similarities for like the Batman and the X-Men universe for me, where it comes down to like, and really what makes me enjoy a comic book series or anything for that matter, because I'm really twisted and weird, is because I like good villains, and X-Men and Batman to me have the best villains.
Yeah.
Like, Magneto and
Classic.
Juggernaut and Gambit. Gambit's kind of weird. He's like,
he played both sides of the fence.
Sometimes he's like an anti-hero. It's weird.
Yeah, he played both sides of the fence.
Mystique is awesome. And then on the Batman side, obviously everybody loves the Joker. Catwoman and Mr. Freeze when he's not being played by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I was totally waiting for you somebody.
Yeah. And also, this is a more recent one, but I love me some Harley Quinn.
Hey,
she's not even a comic original. She's 100% TV show made.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Sometimes the best ideas come from the expansion of the universe in other media, right?
Absolutely. And now she's a staple in the comic. So
yeah. Although I will tell you that Gotham, the TV series, I think is actually pretty cool.
I love Gotham.
It's an obsession of mine. I try to secretly not talk about it, although I just announced it to the Univoice.
Right, but it's topical, so it's okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great show. I mean, for those who are completely unaware or are not old enough yet to watch Gotham for various TV-rated reasons, it's excellent.
Not for kids.
It's not new, but it's very good. It's dark, it's twisted, it's, kind of got the cop show feel to it, which works so well.
Absolutely.
I mean, and it's just expertly done. I mean, it's
and I mean, not to put any spoilers, but those first 3 episodes, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, the series has just been amazing. So, and to think it almost got canceled. Anyway, almost did. Okay, so that enough about the Marvel versus DC spiel. Let's jump just quickly because, comic books being what they are, there's a little bit of comic book flavor everywhere. So now we'll jump into just a brief segment of miscellany before we wrap up this week's chat. So, because it has to be mentioned, I mean, it just has to be. Let's talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for a second.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Sorry.
Love. And if you really need the theme song, pop onto YouTube. I'm sure there's millions of versions of it.
I figured that's how much I could sing of it before getting sued. So
we're not going to get sued.
I know.
I just think it's funny. We worry about that. I mean, there's pretty much everybody, and I mean everybody, I have to say this, everybody puts those songs and those clips and everything on all their shows. So you know what? I got over it a long time ago. You want it? Come on. I mean, just
right.
You can have my $2.
Basically free advertising.
Yeah, it's like, take my $2.
Oh my god!
Bring it on.
Turtles in Time.
Oh yeah, I mean, look. So from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the original Nintendo
that was terrible.
It was ape hard, super hard, And it was big and very successful only because it was out really when the original cartoon series had really kind of come out, and so it was like all part of the hype. And it was super hard. I mean, the game was really hard. Then, go on, Kyle, you were saying.
I mean, Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
Turtles in Time, I mean, it rivals the X-Men game, really.
Yeah.
In terms of beat-em-ups and platform, like just there was a sewer level which was difficult.
Yeah.
Sort of like it reminds me of the Double Dragon Battletoads sewer level.
That's funny.
But really, I mean, it's just you get the same kind of feeling as you would for the X-Men game. You get 2-3 of your friends together, put your quarters in the machine, and you're just like you're screaming at each other like, "Oh, I need help me back up!" Like. It is chaotic, and you got me and 3 of my just obnoxiously loud friends just screaming at a giant box for a straight hour because we can't beat the game. And I don't think I ever have beaten the game.
I don't think I have either, but I will say this. It's really interesting, that game, X-Men, The Simpsons had a 4-person arcade version.
I was just thinking about that.
They all... in that it was like the thing to do at that time. But I think it's even more interesting is that there were so many different cartoon series that fit in that formula. It's so unusual to see that and of course back then arcades were still the thing, even though you had consoles, they were, largely underpowered and, why not go to the mall with your friends, because that's what we did back in the 80s and 90s. Today, nobody leaves their cell phone. But, I think the point being, though, that it's interesting to me that all of the X-Men and all those game franchises somehow fit into that very similar formula. And it's interesting because I think for Ninja Turtles specifically, it worked really, really, really well. Very simple. Yeah, it was so good. I mean, the game is still amazing. Still amazing.
Just the simplest detail of there being 4 of them, that's perfect. Yeah. That's the perfect amount of players for a game.
Yeah.
Like, and you think that's such like a small little detail, but it's not. It's that's what makes multiplayer. And even before N64 and Xbox and PlayStation, where you could play with 4 of your friends and landlines and stuff like this, that's what really kind of brought video games as like a social experience, much more than just you sitting in your living room playing Final Fantasy. Even though plenty of my time was spent doing that, but beat 'em ups like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and X-Men and Simpsons, and then later on in my life, like Smash Bros. Mm-hmm. That stuff wouldn't happen if it weren't for the arcades.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I think you touched on it, though, even more fundamentally than that is the it's the social experience, right?
Yeah.
That's a really interesting thought, because those games, while they were at the arcade, and even though that was kind of the thing, when you went home and you played on your console, you were at home playing with your console. Like, you did not, unless you had friends at your house.
Yeah.
It was a very solitary experience. Many games were just 1 player, maybe 2. And really the only place you could play 4 players was the arcades.
Exactly.
And there wasn't an online, dear God, I can't even believe that I was alive when the internet really didn't exist. But I was. And, that stuff just didn't exist. You couldn't just plug in. I mean, I remember the day my dad brought home a PC that connected to like a, 3600 baud modem, and that was like, right. And that was like amazing, the days of AOL and all that. But, even before AOL, but yeah. I mean, it blew up so quickly that you're right. Now, I mean, that's why arcades have largely fallen out of favor, except for things like putting it in a bar or as just a novelty.
But brilliant move.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. It was genius.
Like, what better way to bring arcades back than all the kids who grew up? We're now at that age where we can drink. Just put all our favorite games as a kid in a bar.
Well.
Boom.
And the other
arcades are back.
Well, I know. And the other thing that I really like about what you said is, and just extrapolating it a little bit, I think it's good because, the 4 having like, you said, oh, there's 4 of the Ninja Turtles, so it makes perfect sense. Everybody had their favorite. And so when you go to the arcade, you're going to play as your favorite, and you have your second favorite if you want to swap with your buddies, but that was cool. And then, again, just like in the X-Men game, each of the characters had their own, like, special move or whatever. And so you just had that neat, cool experience that you could share with your friends, and that's awesome.
Now I'm trying to remember who all was in the X-Men arcade game.
Let's see. Nightcrawler, Colossus, Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm. I don't remember if Gambit was in that.
I want to say he was.
Maybe Iceman, maybe. I know Magneto, Juggernaut. In terms of enemies.
Yeah.
I don't, other than that, I'm not sure. I don't think, like, Jean Grey, obviously she wasn't in it.
It was Cyclops, Colossus, Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, and Dazzler.
Dazzler. I was like thinking Gambit, but Dazzler. I mean, okay, I guess. But anyway, so moral of the story, it was a great format, the arcades, for those 4-person games, and Ninja Turtles fit in there like a glove.
Absolutely.
Like a glove. And then, of course, the movies, well, we won't talk about that right now.
Oh, Michael Bay. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. What time is this? It's 41. I will bleep that out for you.
Michael Bay, you terrible human being.
So anyway, are there any other comic book franchises or stories? I was just going through like the Google, and like Fantastic Four didn't really have anything amazing.
I mean, yeah. That's the story of the Fantastic Four's life. Their movies are
not so Fantastic Four.
I mean, Doctor Doom is such a great villain, and yet he just keeps showing up in these crappy movies. Ugh.
He is a great villain, and he was sort of the linchpin there at the end of the DC universe before they just did their reboot.
Yeah. Oh well.
Very interesting. Any other series that you can think of? I mean,
The Watchmen had a game. It was really bad.
Oh my god.
So we can just ignore that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I love superheroes.
Hey, it's all good. So I guess final thoughts. Let's end on something positive, and let's talk about the future of comic book games. I think we have found and agreed in this conversation, at least, that the Batman Arkham series formula works extremely well.
It's the pinnacle.
Everybody needs to somehow figure out a way to piggyback off of that or take it and iterate it into something better, because, I mean, that's where the magic is right now. And same thing for those old school 4-person arcades. Is there a way to do, something more online multiplayer? And I'm not talking about like Marvel mobile games. I know I said we'd talk about mobile games, but other than just mentioning it, I don't know that there's really a topic there other than Marvel's doing fairly well in that space as well.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the little kids are. But,
I mean, you know what? I think especially for Marvel, if they were to bring back or go release a standalone AAA release for one of their franchises, I mean, an Avengers game in sort of like a modern style of the X-Men game, boom, you make $100 million. Like, get like 6 Avengers, get, the big 6, I guess. Iron Man, Hulk, Thor. Wow, I suck at this.
I'm not helping you just for the principle.
Oh my god. This is how much I don't care about the Avengers. Oh god, what is wrong with me? Iron Man, duh. Did I say Iron Man? I don't even know.
You did Captain America.
Yeah, Captain America. So yeah. Here we go. Yeah, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and Hulk. There you go. 4 players.
5.
Well, there's got to be an extra, can't all be the same person. Anyway, maybe some people don't want to be Iron Man because Tony Stark is an asshole. Like, I don't know. Anyway, not the point. Yeah, I would like to see like this kind of like. I mean, actually, it's really funny. Actually, the Lego pulls this off brilliantly, but sort of like the Lego Marvel games and the Lego DC games.
Isn't that? And I think when we're talking about the future, that's another part of the comic book franchise series that has done so well. Those stupid Lego games are so good and funny and witty and smart.
It's so weird.
But it's good at the same time. Like, I mean, you could basically turn anything into a Lego game, and that's funny. Yeah,
because for some reason it kind of like bypasses licensings and stuff. I don't know how they do it.
I'm sure there's big, giant envelopes being passed under tables.
Oh, I'm
money
sure.
In it.
Still.
Anyway, that's a great example of where, when we're talking about future franchises, everybody has a little bit of success. And that's good for comic book games in general, because as long as you have something that's not afraid to make fun of itself, that kind of self-deprecating humor is always really good. So I think that's great. I think that's absolutely great.
And the Lego games kind of remind me of the beat-em-ups.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where I'd like to see the Avengers go. Get a serious game where it's a straight-up action game. With the Avengers, I'm not saying the Avengers should do anything groundbreaking here. I think the Avengers, if they come out with a AAA title, just make it fun. Just make it fun and beat them up and awesome boss battles, big boss battles. That sounds like the Avengers game for me. Have the Hulk take on this giant monster thing, like in the final scene of the Avengers. Or Iron Man can float around and do airborne kind of things, and Thor can just plow through enemies like nobody's business. And then,
I mean, I think it's such a great concept, the Lego games, and taking something like that you're saying has a really good formula and using it to the betterment of the concept of comic book games, I think is super smart.
Yeah, because we can't all be Batman. I mean, sorry, but Batman Arkham Asylum is Splinter Cell DC Universe. And it's perfect because Batman fits that criteria. No one on the Avengers roster, except for maybe Hawkeye or Black Widow, which no one wants a game about those guys. I'm sorry, no one. They're good characters, but no one wants a standalone title about Hawkeye. No one. People want an Avengers game. They want Iron Man. They want Captain America. They want Hulk. They want Thor. That's just a fact. And those characters do not fit in the Arkham Asylum criteria. Captain America, maybe a little bit, but certainly not the Hulk.
Right.
There's nothing covert about the Hulk.
Right.
So I think in order to make something that could rival the Arkham Asylum success is make something more traditional, but make it fun and cool.
Right.
And that's just my 2 cents on Marvel and the Avengers, and that's about as much Avengers talk as I can stomach. So.
All good. Well, I think generally, just to kind of wrap things here, that I think the future looks really pretty good, especially because you've got really good key core franchises that are AAA, like Arkham, the Arkham series, doing so very well, and that's going to keep it out there for gamers and people.
I'm glad it's over though.
Yeah, I mean it is, but is it really? We'll find out in 2 years.
I hope so.
Hey, when you got a game and you're making millions on it, it's hard to walk away.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look at Halo. Of course.
Yeah.
I still love Halo. I think they still make consistently good products, but that's just my 2 cents. No one else agrees with me.
Well, there may be many Xbox listeners that do, in fact, still agree with you. And so with that, we'll thank everybody for listening today. Remember that if you want to listen, and many of you are right now, thank you, you can listen to us. Yeah, right. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio, on iTunes, You can check us out on Facebook and the Twitter at GamerFeedRadio. Tell us all the things. Do you agree, disagree? Do you think Kyle needs to, more permanently stay out of his Fallout bunker? Should we shove him back in? No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. It's funny. I just realized this in the middle of the closing. We didn't make fun of Brad at all in this show.
No, we didn't.
So he gets one pass. One. Only one. That's all I'm saying. And anyway, if you want to check out any of our cool and original content, including an article Kyle posted not too long ago,
hi,
on all things GamerFeedRadio.com, check it out. All the shows are posted there weekly. We're also, by the way, on YouTube. There isn't any video because, trust me, nobody needs to see this on a regular basis. But all the audio recordings are available on our YouTube channel, GamerFeed Radio, so please feel free to subscribe there in iTunes if you would not mind. That would be amazing. Anyway, until next time, gamers, peace.
Later.